Who are the top players to stash ahead of the trade deadline? Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Thursday, July 10th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Chris Towers. We have no Scott White this week, so we had to wing it. We don't have prospects to stash. We have players to stash ahead of the trade deadline. Players that could earn more of a role, more of an opportunity as we get further into the season. And no surprise, Chris, first name up, someone we've talked about a lot, Andrew Painter, top pitching prospect for the Phillies. They started Taijuan Walker recently. I don't think they want to do that very much. Yeah. The problem here is that Painter has been pretty bad at AAA.
Yeah, Painter's been struggling. This is one where it's tough to know how much of his struggles are. Is he just not good? I think that's unlikely. He's a super talented prospect. Is he working on specific stuff and the results don't matter so much to the Phillies? Well, there was a quote from manager Rob Thompson last week where he talked about, we want to see him getting results and getting guys out. So it at least based on that, it didn't sound like they were, unconcerned about the results. But look, the timetable was always July-ish. Was what they said. Well, it's July 10th, and Mick Abel was just sent down to the minors. Now, they don't need another starter until, presumably a week or so after the end of the All-Star break, so they've got time to make this decision with Andrew Painter, but I do think he's very likely to be called up at some point in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Samuel Basallo of the Orioles, he has had a big season in the minors. I know he's been up and down. He's had some great stretches, and then he's gone cold as well. They have had injuries to their catchers. I thought if they were going to call him up by now, they would have done it. But I could still see him being a late August, early September call up, keeping that eligibility for next season.
Yeah, that's the key thing is that if they didn't call him when 4 different catchers went on the IL, including Gary Sanchez most recently for what looks like most of the rest of the season, well, Adley Rutschman's, a week or two away. Why hit the panic button and call up 20-year-old Samuel Basallo that now, if not earlier? So I think it's unlikely that we see him in the next couple of weeks, but man, it does not look like he has a lot left to learn at AAA. I know they've been kind of splitting his time between catcher and first base or DH. His numbers are ridiculous. He's got almost as many walks as strikeouts. He's hitting for power. There's been some concern about his ability to hit major league caliber fastballs. Whiff rate on four-seamers above 94 miles per hour is like 25%, which is a little concerning, I guess, but he doesn't look like he has a ton left to learn at AAA besides maybe the defense part. And yeah, I think Basallo's got huge upside, but in terms of stashing him, I don't think he's the top hitter stash out there.
Well, do you think it's Chase DeLauder, who is a Guardians outfield prospect who has a ton of upside, a ton of talent? He gets on base. There's power. There's speed. He's dealt with so many injuries. So the Guardians are still building him up in the minors, but they also just need any help they could get in their lineup, Chris. So I think this one could be sooner. It could be right after the All-Star break.
I think this one could be any day. I don't know what boxes they have left to check. I know there was a quote from the team president, I think, recently where they talked about they've been working him back slowly. He was playing like 3 or 4 days a week. Now they're going to start playing him more like 5 or 6 days a week. They have to be careful with his reps. Like you said, he has never played more than 57 games in a minor league season since being drafted. He's missed a ton of time, including already this season, but this is another guy who just does not look like there's anything left for him to learn at AAA. He has as many walks as strikeouts. He's hitting 280 with a 390 on base percentage. He's hitting for power. There's, a little bit of athleticism there, certainly enough to be a mainstay in the outfield. And the hit tool has always been remarkably advanced for Chase DeLauder. To even be at AAA with the limited amount of playing time he's had speaks to his talent, let alone dominating AAA. So the Guardians still have hopes of making the playoffs. They are getting some of, if not the worst production in baseball from their right fielders. I think this could, if we wake up on Thursday morning and Chase DeLauder's getting called up, I would not be surprised. I think we will almost certainly see him before the end of July.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure,
Just try to keep up.
every face-off,
This ends now.
and every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime.
all 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in FBT Express. A few other prospects to stash ahead of the trade deadline here. Jordan Lawler, who I know is currently on the IL at AAA with a hamstring injury. D-backs prospect, I should mention. I think there's a chance that they trade Eugenio Suarez or perhaps other pieces, Chris, and maybe we see Jordan Lawler back up in August with everyday playing time. And if that happens, obviously there is some power and speed potential here.
Another guy who's missed a ton of time but has been very productive at AAA. I know he didn't do much at the major league level. He just didn't get a chance. Baseball's really hard. Baseball's even harder when you've missed a lot of time in your key developmental years. And baseball's even harder than that when you're not playing every day. So I don't hold Jordan Lawler's early struggles against him even a tiny little bit. I'm still very excited about him whenever he gets the chance.
Somebody who is currently an injury stash for the Minnesota Twins is Luke Keeschel, who is out with a fractured forearm, but he's slowly working his way back. Could be back late July, early August. And earlier this season, in 7 games with the Twins, hit .368 with a .538 on base percentage and 5 steals. So I do think he's a name that could provide a little bit of power, some speed, gets on base as well. 2 other names I wanted to mention real quick, Chris. Cubs prospects that I don't think that they would make an impact for the Cubs.
Yeah.
But if they are involved in trades to other teams, Owen Casey, outfield prospect, and Moises Ballesteros, catcher prospect, if the Cubs trade for an Edward Cabrera, Sandy Alcantara, or, some great reliever, those guys could wind up getting playing time on other teams down the stretch.
Yeah, and the Cubs are in a knockdown, drag-out battle for that NL Central. They're only a game and a half up on the Brewers right now. As good as the Cubs have been, they could use another starting pitcher. I feel like there's not really any holes in the lineup. They're pretty good everywhere there, but another starting pitcher, a shutdown reliever, maybe a Mason Miller, maybe a Felix Bautista if those guys are available. I could see them going for those guys. And Owen Casey, unless they're just planning on letting Kyle Tucker walk, it just doesn't seem like there's a place for Owen Casey to play. So him particularly, I don't know if it's a guarantee that he gets traded, but among all prospects, he feels like the most likely to be traded before the deadline, just between the Cubs team needs, his lack of an opportunity, and the fact that the Cubs have a big incentive to try to make the playoffs and give Kyle Tucker a reason to stick around besides the $300 million contract they're probably going to offer him this offseason.
Yeah. This next group, Chris, I mean, relievers, it's a complete
It's always tough.
crapshoot, right? It's like we're throwing darts here, but I guess some relievers who are setup men right now, if the closer on their team was traded, just quickly run through Jordan Hicks with the Red Sox.
Yes.
We already
That's
saw
the
him.
number one. That's the top one.
Yeah. Look, the Red Sox are trying to win a wild card spot, but Chapman's also on a 1-year deal, and they already gave Jordan Hicks a save opportunity, which he converted. So I guess that is an opportunity. I don't think the Guardians would trade Emmanuel Clase, but if they did, Cade Smith has been pretty good so far in his career. For the Royals, maybe the Royals look to trade both Carlos Estevez and Lucas Erceg, but if they traded one, if they traded Estevez, then Lucas Erceg could be the guy. We saw him really good.
It's been really good,
last year down the stretch. For the Twins, maybe Yohan Duran. Maybe they trade Griffin Jacks as well. I think the next man up would be Louis Varland at that point. But if Duran was traded and Jacks wasn't, then he would probably be the closer. So
absolutely.
2 names there for the Pirates. We already saw earlier this season Dennis Santana picked up some saves. I think there's actually a pretty good chance David Bednar could get traded at the deadline. So Dennis Santana there. And the Cardinals Cardinals in a weird spot, Chris, because they've overachieved this season. They are competing for a wild card spot. They could probably get a haul for Ryan Helsley right now if they traded him away. And if they did, Phil Maton would be the next name up there.
Yeah, the Cardinals, Fangraphs gives them a 30% chance to make the playoffs.
That's pretty good.
I mean, it's a decent chance. It's about the same as the Red Sox, but the Red Sox seem a lot more desperate to make the playoffs. The Red Sox seem a lot more like they need something good to happen, where the Cardinals, it didn't seem like their plan was to contend this season. We thought they were going to be trading pieces off at the deadline, and they still may, because I think Sonny Gray is a free agent at the end of the season. Nolan Arenado, I think they would be thrilled to get out from Nolan Arenado's contract, no matter, even if they were on 120 win pace. I think they'd be fine with that. So Cardinals, I think they're going to make some trades one way or the other.
A couple other names that I will quickly mention here, closers that could be traded. Just scrolling up and down, I did see a few. Kenley Jansen, if he were moved, maybe Reed Detmers would be the closer for the Angels. If Mason Miller were to go, it looks like somebody named Michael Kelly is currently the setup man for the Athletics. And
Robert Suarez has been a trade candidate,
Yeah, that is possible. Obviously, Jason Adam would be next up. And for the Orioles, I don't think that they're going to trade Felix Bautista, but if they did, one of Sir Anthony Dominguez or Gregory Soto could pick up some saves for the Orioles. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.